Number 1. The door. The worst thing that ever happened to me happened at a hotel. I was making a cross-country drive. I won't say where it was exactly because I really don't think that was important. However, it was a long and lonely cross-country highway. I had been driving a long time and late into the night. There weren't many cars. The ones that there were wouldn't turn off their high beams. So it was a lonely and tired experience. Each street light hit my eyes like a hypnotist's watch, making me feel like I was in some sort of long and painful to my eyes dream. I am one of those people who likes driving at night because I make better time. But I was having way too difficult a problem this night. I eventually gave in and went to a motel. It was a bit of a run-down motel. I didn't even like it at first. But who knows how much longer I would have to drive before I found another. The office was more like a movie theater ticket booth than a motel office. There was a glass booth, and I had to pass my credit card and ID under the glass. It was weird. The man at the counter was a bit creepy too. He kept looking at me weird, and I could have sworn he was checking me out over and over. I felt dirty when I finally got my key and went to my room. However dirty I felt, I definitely didn't shower right away in that room. It wasn't dirty, don't get me wrong, but it did sort of smell really weird. I checked the bed sheets, and they were very clean, which made me happy. But the carpet was very old. While it may have been vacuumed, I figured that was where the smell was coming from. The bathroom was clean, but the water smelled too. That was why I decided to skip the shower. I got changed and got ready for bed. I thought I'd check out an hour or so of television and try to fall asleep after that. Yeah, I had been falling asleep on the road, but I always like to see something on TV before going to bed. I almost fell asleep while watching TV. While I was dozing, I suddenly heard a knock at the door. I made my way over to the door, stumbling as I was tired. When I looked through the keyhole, I saw a rather large and nasty-looking man. He had to be 6'5", and I couldn't even guess on his weight. He was also really dirty, and I can't describe how gross the man looked. I wasn't about to open the door. I did ask through the door if I could help him somehow. Yeah, the manager told me I needed to come and get you and take you to the desk. He told me there was a problem with your credit card. It was very fishy. This was a motel. The manager could have just called me. I asked the guy why he didn't just call me. The main phone at the desk is broken, he informed me. You have to come out to the desk. There was a problem with your card. I wasn't going to go outside. I told the man to wait for a minute. I went over to my computer, which I had connected to the motel internet. I pulled up the website for my credit card. When I did, it confirmed that the money had gone through on my motel. I was about to check something else when the man began pounding on the door. Sir, if you don't come out now, we're going to have to call the police, the man yelled at me. You'll be arrested for trespassing since you didn't pay for the room. Well, if this guy was planning on attacking me or killing me or something, he really made a mistake getting so aggressive. I wasn't about to come out now, and his reasoning was pretty stupid. I went over to the door and made sure the bolt was locked tight. I yelled at the man to get away from my door because I was calling the cops. His response was shocking. You called the police? He yelled back, surprised and incredulous. You called the police? Sure, call the damn police. All they're gonna do is arrest your ass. "You're trespassing, you idiot. You'll go to jail immediately. Only way you ain't going to jail is if you come out of this door right now." I went ahead and called the police while the man was still pounding on the door. Apparently, they were already on their way, as the motel attendant and one of my neighbors heard the ruckus and called them. Going back to the door, I told the guy that I had called the cops and we'd see who got arrested. He didn't waste any time. He ran off, jumped into a pickup truck, and ran off. When the police arrived, we gave him the full story. They arrested the guy while we were talking. Apparently, he was an ex-con. He had served time for aggravated assault and attempted murder. I found out much later during the case that he had also been wanted and charged with murdering a motel guest in a neighboring state. He pretended to be a motel worker, demanded a woman come out of her room because her credit card didn't go through. She went with him, and he beat her badly, and she died. After he was found guilty in our court, he was taken to the other state and prosecuted there. He got a life sentence. Number 2. The elevator. I was going into the city for work. My company was sending me in for some training. I was excited. They were sending me to one of those high-rise hotels. I had never been in one of them before. It was an all-expense-paid vacation to me, in a way. I had money for food and a little for entertainment. I was also so excited that my hotel room was on a really high floor. I had always wanted to be on the high floor of a building. When I got into the hotel, I was pretty impressed with the money that my company must have spent to get me there. I checked in, went to the elevator, and came all the way to the 50th floor. I got into my room and immediately went to the window. I looked out onto the city. It was Las Vegas, by the way. Anyhow, I decided to go out and spend my first night hitting the casinos. I went out of my room and got on the elevator. And when I did, there was only one other person in the elevator. I guess I should feel bad about labeling him immediately, but he seemed really filthy, and I almost thought he was homeless. He definitely didn't appear to be the type of person who could stay in such a nice hotel. Several times, the guy tried to start up a conversation with me. I politely gave him yes or no answers to most of them. He asked me if I was going any place in particular, and I just told him I was going to the casinos. When he asked if I needed someone to show me around, I gave him an absolute no. The guy stopped talking, but even though we were the only two people in the elevator, he began slowly moving closer and closer to me. I tried to ignore him, pretend he wasn't there, but it didn't stop him from moving. Soon, he was so close to me that I could practically hear him breathing. I was dying, hoping the long elevator ride would end, but I still had a while to go. Thankfully, just when I thought I was going to yell at the guy or something, the elevator stopped at a floor. The guy quickly moved away from me, verifying that he was a creep. Thankfully, the couple that got on stayed on the elevator all the way to the bottom floor, since no one else got on. When we got to the lobby, he followed me out of the door and turned to walk the same way as I did. I began walking faster, trying to get a head start on him. I was able to lose him in the crowded streets of Las Vegas. I felt a wave of relief when I did. More than once, while I was out enjoying myself, I saw the man in the same casino as I was in. Each time, I wasn't sure that he had seen me, so I would just try to lay low and even go to a different casino. I just wanted nothing to do with him. When I'd had enough of the casino browsing, I decided to go back to my hotel room and get some sleep. I kept a watchful eye around me and was happy that I hadn't seen the guy even once on my way back. I felt happy. That is, until I got back to the hotel. He was in the lobby, seated on a couch beside the elevator. He looked up when I approached the elevator and looked like his eyes totally lit up. I went to push the button on the elevator, just checking to see how he would react. He instantly got up. It was obvious. He was waiting to get back on the elevator with me. I figured he must have been following me around, and then realized that it made more sense to wait in a place he knew I would go back to, the hotel lobby. Well, there was no way I was going to get into the elevator again with this creep. I went immediately away from the elevator, over to the lobby, and complained to the desk clerk. I asked for an escort to my room. They not only got me a security guard to escort me, the guard had a talk with the creep. He told him that he was making me feel uncomfortable, and that it would be better if he left me alone. He then made the man wait, while he went into the elevator with me. I was there for a few days, and I did see the man again, but he never rode the elevator with me, and he never tried to talk with me or anything. Number 3. Dark Motel. I don't tend to make too many long drives. One of the reasons is that I really don't like staying in motels. I don't care how clean a motel is. In my mind, it is nearly impossible for it to be clean. No matter what, people I don't know have slept in the beds and in the sheets that I would be sleeping in. Tons of people would have used the same toilets and showers that I would be using, and I just can't deal with that sort of thing, so I try and avoid it altogether. I was driving home from college to visit my parents. Normally, the drive is 14 hours straight through. I basically have to get going right out of bed, and I only have an hour or so to visit with my parents on arrival before going to bed. On the particular trip that this story happens on, I ran into a few things that halted my progress. First, I got a little bit of a late start because we had a power outage in my dorm. My alarm clock therefore didn't go off. I figured I could still make it, but I had never driven at that time. I had to go through a major city, and I hit them right at the peak of their traffic. My car was slowed down to a complete stop at times. I had never experienced traffic that was so horrible. And before I knew it, I had lost 3 extra hours, bringing the grand total of the hours that I was behind to 5. I tried my best to make it up by driving fast and taking less bathroom breaks, but the time that I was able to make up was minimal. I called my parents and let them know that I was going to be showing up about 5 hours late. However, when my eyes began shutting on their own, I realized it would be too dangerous to keep driving. Coffee was doing nothing for me, so I called my parents again and let them know I wouldn't get there until the following day. I was going to have to check into a motel. I tried looking for a chain motel. I figured that they would be cleaner for some reason. However, I wasn't able to find one before it just got too dangerous for me to drive any further. I picked the next motel I could find. I didn't get a good impression from the motel right away. I walked into the office, and there was no one in there. I rang the bell, and heard some noise coming from a room behind the desk. A man, maybe in his 40s, came out from the room. I could tell that he had been sleeping in the office. He kept looking at me in a way that made me very uncomfortable. He kept his face down towards the desk, but his eyes were looking straight up at me. He did this nearly the entire time that I was checking in. I can't tell you how relieved I was when I finally got my key and I was able to get to my room. For a motel that wasn't a chain, it was pretty large. I had to drive around to my room, and I parked right in front of it. I felt a little better about the experience when I got to my room. It was about as clean as you could expect a motel room to be. Still, I couldn't bring myself to shower there. I hadn't brought my shower shoes that I used in the dorm. After I had gotten ready for bed, I turned out the light and went to sleep. I was surprised at how easily I fell asleep. I woke up a bit later. I was unsure what had woken me up. I'm not one of those people who wakes up during the night. I tend to sleep straight through. I assumed it was a noise. I waited to see if I would hear it again. When I didn't, I decided to just lay back down. I slept for what seemed like a long time, but when I woke once more, I noticed it had only been about half an hour. Again, I wasn't sure what had woken me up. I once again assumed it was a noise, but again, there were no noises when I tried to listen for one. Once again, I laid back down and tried to go to sleep. This time, it wasn't as easy to go back to sleep. I had been woken up twice, and I was a bit unnerved. I laid down, and I had my eyes closed for quite a while. And then, I felt something. It wasn't much at first. It just felt like a movement on the bed. I figured it was nothing, until then, I slowly began feeling something pressing down on the left bottom corner of the bed. It felt as if someone were putting a distinct pressure right there. I opened my eyes again and got up. This time, I turned on the lamp. The man, the one who had checked me into the motel, was in the room with me. He didn't have a weapon or anything, but he was at that corner of the bed. He had been trying to get into or onto the bed with me. It was then when I realized that he must have been what had woken me up the previous 2 times. It must have been because he was trying to get onto the bed quietly. I was horrified further by realizing that the man must have been in the room with me while I had been sleeping. I'm not really that big of a guy, but I'm in decent shape, and I was angry. I jumped out of the bed and grabbed the lamp off of the table, threatening to kick the guy's ass. He seemed unsure of what to do, and finally decided to bolt from the room. I quickly used the phone to call the cops. The cops told me the guy had just gone back to the desk. Apparently, he also called the cops, saying he had an unruly guest he needed thrown out. The guy had a previous record of doing similar things, however, so the police believed me and arrested him. Eventually, I was allowed to go on my way again. I went straight home. I have never slept in a hotel ever again. Hey y'all, Killer Orange Cat here. These stories, both the video and the script, will be posted on the Killer Orange Cat subreddit immediately. Feel free to check that out and chat about the video if you would like. The Reddit is taking off a little slow, but I'm hoping it will get going. The link to both it and my sister's Killer Orange Cat merchandise store are up in the description to the channel. Feel free to check them out. If you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. If you're not already subscribed to Killer Orange Cat, please consider hitting the subscribe button below, or use the icon of Ichigo that will appear at the end of this closing. Feel free to leave some comments to let me know what you think of the video, and consider sharing it with someone you think might enjoy it. You can always follow Ichigo and myself on Facebook and Twitter. If you have a story you like narrated on Killer Orange Cat, please email it to the address included in the description. My only requirement is that the story is original, meaning it has not been read on any other YouTube channel. Hope you all are having a great time, and please don't forget to make sure to check in your closet and check under your bed, because you never know where a Killer Orange Cat might be hiding. Good night.